It was seen by 67 million people. It took 2 years to make. It was shown in 40 countries, in 17 different languages. Nominated for 18 awards.
Hurry up, he's coming straight for us. Don't screw it up now. Don't wait for me. Now! Shoot!
If you forgot what terror is like, the original Jaws is back. Coming soon for a limited engagement at a theater near you.
Japanese submarine slammed 2 torpedoes into our side, Chief. Tiger, 13 foot. The shark come cruising. I love this. Da, 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 da. I'm half shark and half Peter. Oh man, guys, I fucking love this movie. Hey guys, what's up? It's BigJackFilms here, and welcome to a very special opening night. So, a little sidetrack here. Yes, you've seen the title right. I am talking on opening night. I'm taking the hat off. It's my little director's cap because Steven Spielberg. I am doing another review of Jaws. Now, for those who don't know, back I think 2015, 2016, I did Jaws month, and I'll put a link into the description down below for the playlist, but I talked about Jaws and all of its sequels, as well as Orca the Killer Whale, and, you know, I've already said my piece about Jaws, so why am I reviewing it again? Well, Cineplex, in terms of movie theater chains here in Canada, have actually opened up for business. You know, it's like, those movie, for Christ's sakes, Chief, it's the 4th of July, and those movie theaters will be open for business. And yes, of course, drive-ins have been open, but Cineplex is slowly opening up with social distancing and all that stuff, which is good for us. In fact, Canada is premiering in cinemas the first big new movie to come out. It's the 3rd SpongeBob movie. I'm kind of tempted to see it with a couple of buddies because we're all big SpongeBob fans, so let's see what happens. So, with that being said, movie theaters have obviously started to decline in business because of COVID-19 and social distancing, and businesses aren't allowed to be open with big public spaces. But slowly here in Canada, we're getting things back to normal. And because of that, movie theaters are opening. I mean, drive-ins are open, as I said before. And what's been really great about movie theaters right now is that a couple of film studios have actually lended some of their earlier releases to cinemas to keep the business open, which, you know, you gotta bless them for that. You know, studios heads, you know, saying, you know, movie theaters are suffering. What do? Let's put old movies that people love back into theaters. So, some of the biggest box office of the summer are movies that haven't had box office success since their original releases. So, a lot of the old classics, mostly from Universal and Warner Brothers libraries, are being re-released in theaters for limited engagement for about 2 or 3 weeks of theater, but they're there. So things like The Goonies, Gremlins, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I believe The Princess Bride in a couple of cinemas. They're showing, obviously the 2 big ones are Back to the Future, that's 3, Jurassic Park, and Jaws. Now, Jaws has obviously actually been one of the biggest successes because the way some people are dealing with this pandemic, or they're acting like the town Mayor Vaughn from Jaws, you know, those beaches will be open for business, you know, so it's like nobody's taking it seriously. So, Jaws on the big screen. I can't complain, I'm fucking sold, so I see the movie, and why the hell not do a review of it? It's been a while since I've talked about Jaws, and yes, here's to swimming with bootlegged women, Chief. I should point out, too, this is actually JT's Reborn's favorite film, which I'm surprised, you know, you haven't it sucks you're not here, man, I would have gone to see it with you. But it's his favorite movie, and him and I just always quote Jaws. Like, Jaws is one of the most quotable movies of all time. And on top of that, it's kind of funny because I listen to a lot of the Opie and Anthony show, the reruns, whenever they talk about movies with the late Patrice O'Neill, and they always talk about Jaws, and it's hilarious the way they redo it. It's like, the district attorney, he's gonna have a heart attack when he sees what I brought him! I can quote the movie all day, it won't make a difference, but this is my first time seeing Jaws, one of my favorite films of all time, in my top 5, on the big screen, and it was worth it. It was fun. The theater wasn't as crowded, obviously, but you know, the movie experience, just seeing this film, the film that started the killer shark genre, the killer animal genre, the movie that made Steven Spielberg, what made all these actors, Richard Dreyfuss, Roy Scheider, one of the biggest monsters and films in Universal's history. They had rides dedicated to it, which I remember the Jaws ride. The Jaws ride scared the shit out of me. So, Jaws, you know, it's Jaws. Like, who hasn't seen it? If you need to know the plot, you know, a small little island town in New York State, or New York, you know, whatever, near Martha's Vineyard, which is where they shot the movie, called Amity, is attacked by a killer great white shark. In fact, it's a 25-foot great white shark. And depending on the films, they get big in size. So, obviously, you know, it's peak season for the beaches, for the town. They need the money, so, you know, they have to open up the beaches despite the warnings from the chief, played by Roy Scheider. And, you know, it just leads to chaos. People get eaten, people get bitten. Then they hire Captain Quint, played by the great Robert Shaw, and, you know, a marine biologist, Matt Hooper, played by Richard Dreyfuss, and they go out Moby Dick style to take out the shark and destroy it. And it's a classic sea adventure, but it's also easily one of the greatest horror movies of all time. It's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen in my life, and I think the reason I just love this movie so much, one, I saw it at a very young age when I was 5 years old. My uncles, who actually worked in the movie business, they actually worked on Earth Final Conflict, which is a Star Trek anthology series or something, some mini side series, spin-off series that was shot in Toronto, and they used to work on a lot of big projects. In fact, they worked with, you know, Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd, along a lot of people. So they always introduced me to movies, and 4 movies actually we watched back on those old VHS tapes. We watched the original King Kong, which was the first time I ever saw it, and King Kong Lives, which I saw surprisingly before the 70s remake. And then after that, we watched Jaws 1 and Jaws 2. And I remember more Jaws 1. Now, so my take on the movie when I first saw it, it scared the fuck out of me. I've been traumatized by Jaws ever since I saw it as a kid on VHS. It scared the shit out of me and made me so afraid of the water. I can't even go into a pool without thinking there's a shark in there, in which I've seen people do pool sharks. Not fucking cool. So, you know, it's an iconic film. It's one of the scariest movies ever. And what makes it so good is obviously the shark never worked. The damn thing didn't work because of the hydraulics and everything. In fact, you know, the classic line from Richard Dreyfuss in the documentaries is that all over the mics of Martha Vineyard, all you hear is, the shark is not working. The shark is not working. So, a lot of that happened, but it uses primal fear. It uses what you can't see to scare you. And they don't show the monster until halfway through the film. And this is a trope that goes back all the way to the original Kong, you know? Don't show your monster, your big scary monster, until halfway through. But even then, it's like, when you see it, despite, I guess my guess is they used every frame of that shark they could, in terms of, you know, the animatronic shots, because it just barely works. So it's like, they just used whatever they could, and surprisingly, the way they cut it and edit it, it worked. It really damn worked. And yeah, sure, people complain about the shark going, fishy shark. But you know what? It's like, it's still terrifying. Like, Quint's death, Jesus Christ. Holy crap, what a violent death. Like, one of the most terrifying. Like, you know, it's like you're trying to crawl up the side of the boat like Titanic, but imagine just Titanic. You're sliding down the Titanic slide, but there's just a big fucking shark with teeth trying to kill you. It's crazy. And you know, the picture quality in the theater was spectacular. I'm not gonna lie. Like, this was one of the best restorations I've seen of Jaws. I think it was when they showed it for the 40th anniversary in 2015, and it still looks good. Actually, surprisingly, the version I saw used the original mono mix, which is surprising because, like, the mono mix is hard to find without getting the THX DTS version, which I really don't like. The DTS sound remaster of Jaws that they put out recently, mainly because it's something I have a problem with a lot of remasters, is they keep replacing the gunshot sound effects from, like, you know, Terminator. Batman 89 just dealt with that in Jaws. They keep replacing the classic sound effects, and I hate that. The original gun sounds that Roy Scheider uses to shoot the shark at the end. You know, he's like, come on, blow up, smile, you son of a bitch. You know, it's great. They replaced the gunshots, and I always hated that with the recent re-releases of Jaws. They keep putting that. I want the original monomix. Thankfully, the Blu-ray has that, so you can actually switch the monomix, which I prefer more, to see it as it was originally made, originally released. And surprisingly enough, speaking of Coke, because I'm drinking Coca-Cola, the shark, I forgot to mention this, the sound of the shark in the movie, most people think, oh, did the shark roar? No, the shark didn't roar until Jaws the Revenge, which is such a guilty pleasure, but the original sound of the shark coming out of the water and opening its mouth, it was actually Coca-Cola bottles that they put Mentos in, and they would pour it on the ground and get that sizzle and pitch it way down. That's apparently how they did the shark kind of coming out of the water, which was great. So, again, it's just a great film, and the amount of struggles that film went through really paid off. You know, it was a movie that was said to doom to fail, and it just became the biggest box office of all time. You know, several awards. John Williams, man, this was his first big gig, and fuck, it's a great score. Like, those two notes just nail it out of the park. Man, there's just so much to talk about this film. I'm more fascinated, surprisingly enough, with the behind the scenes of how it was made rather than the movie itself. Like, I love the movie, don't get me wrong. But it's one of those movies, like, what qualifies as some of my favorite films are if the behind-the-scenes stories are as good as the movie itself, because sometimes the behind-the-scenes stories could make a great biopic. Half of me wants to do, a lot of people say, oh, they should make a fifth Jaws, and while I am kind of 50-50 on that, I would much rather prefer they do a biography film, but with Jaws, and make it about the making of the film, and call it the Jaws log. Just call it that, or call it, you know, the shark is not working or something. Just something where, you know you're getting into a biopic, and it's going to be a really good one, and plus you could recreate the sharks and everything from scratch and make them look like, and then you have a full restoration prop. Which, surprisingly enough, the original last known mold of the shark from first Jaws is actually going to be on display at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences Museum, and I know a friend of mine who's actually restoring that, which is pretty cool. One behind-the-scenes thing I actually do want to share about the film is there's a great thing where, like, you know, obviously the shark was not working, you know, the shark is not working, but what's funny is one time you heard this on the mic, the shark is working, the shark is working, the boat is sinking. And it's like, oh, yay, the shark is... Wait, the boat's sinking? It turns out they were shooting that scene where, like, the barrels pull on the boat, on the Orca, and the Orca apparently, like, snapped and it was starting to sink, so they had to drive this thing down to shore before they lost the boat. So it was actually going down, like, the ship was going down, and there's Steven going, get the actors off the boat, and they're, like, putting little safety boats in to get the actors off. And who was on the Orca? It was, I believe, the camera guy, Robert Shaw, Richard Dreyfuss, and Roy Scheider. And then John Carter, who was the sound guy on Jaws, who won the Oscar, he picked up the Negra, the boom, the mic thing that makes the sound, and as Steven Spielberg is saying, get the actors off the boat! Get the actors off the boat! You have frickin' John Carter holding up the thing saying, fuck the actors, save the sound department! And, you know, while that's happening is, you know, Steven's still saying, get the actors off the boat. And then I think Richard Dreyfuss or somebody said, Steven, John is 60 years old! And then John looked and he's like, that's a wrap for sound. And then on top of that, Robert Shaw started to get slowly dressed because he was going down like, Captain, this guy's down with his ship. So there's just so many great behind-the-scenes tales from that film that are equally as good as the movie itself. So yeah, it just, the characters are great. Roy Scheider, Lorraine Geary, Marie Hamilton, Richard Dreyfuss, Robert Shaw, even the townspeople. There's so many great townspeople in this movie, and they're all people from from Martha's Vineyard, you know? One of my favorite characters is the guy who's like, what is that? Tiger shark. A what? I love that guy, you know? A what? He's like the original version of Say What? What? Now I want to see Jaws, a redo. No. God, no. Please don't remake this. Where does Kevin Hart go? It's like, Tiger Shut. Say what? Just for some reason. But I love the what guy. The mayor is such a douchebag. Oh my god, and it's funny because when Universal made this, at the same time they were actually going to do a remake of King Kong, and they had cast Peter Falk as Carl Denham. And funny enough, why do I see Peter Falk's Carl Denham in the Bull Goldman script, which I have read, as well as what they could have done, which you guys can check out my trailer? Why does he sound like he was going to act the exact same goddamn way as Mayor Vaughn from Jaws? It's like, for Christ's sakes, Driscoll, tomorrow's the 4th of July, and that giant ape will be open for business with the chains, and it's going to be the biggest blood rape musical you ever seen yet. You know, I can see that. I would have imagined if they had gotten either Peter Falk or they got Murray Hamilton. Murray Hamilton would have been a great Carl Denham. That, or then you get Captain Eaglehorn, you get fucking Robert Shaw. Kong slams 2 torpedoes in Godzilla's side, Chief. 1,100 men went into the jungle. Island went down in 12 minutes. Didn't see the first dinosaur for about half hour. Tyrannosaur. Oh, and Fay Ray's high-pitched screaming and hollering. Oh, man, I could quote this fucking film all day, but it was just great to see it on the big screen again. And just to see the environment at Martha's Vineyard. That is a place I do need to visit at some point, is Martha's Vineyard, because I just want to see where the movie was shot. And it's so close to me. Like, it's a couple states over from Canada. I could easily make that trip. So, I don't know, maybe someday Josh and I will do a road trip when the borders open at some point. We'll go to Martha's Vineyard and check it out. But yeah, it's just, the movie's so iconic. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I watched it multiple times, and just over time it became my favorite film. And then there was also the ride at Universal, which, god damn it, I'm still pissed that ride closed in 2012, because that was one of my favorite rides. That ride scared the crap out of me, and, you know, to hear all the stories and have friends who actually worked on it and had a lot to talk about it, it's great. That ride was fantastic in Florida. And thankfully it's still around in Hollywood, but the Florida one, I'm sorry, that thing in 1993-94 when it was first operating, that thing was a monster. That thing was terrifying, and people got wet on that. People forget that. Like, the ride after its last years, nobody barely got wet, but now it's like, when it first opened, it's just like, it's like, holy shit. But I remember the fire being extremely hot. It was crazy. So, I love the ride. I love everything about Jaws. You know, even the fucking sequels. You know, I love Jaws 2. I mean, I always thought of it as like they took Jaws, a horror movie, and made it an action movie. But nowadays I realize, you know what? Jaws 2 is essentially kind of responding to the slasher genre thanks to Halloween. Oh wait, did Jaws come out before or after Halloween? Because at the time, the slasher genre was just right around the corner when Jaws 2 was happening. And it feels like something out of, like, you know, Friday the 13th. Like, the shark in Jaws 2, I think he's called Brusette, basically is like Jason Voorhees down to having scars and everything, like Scarface the Shark. I think either was Scarface or Brusette. You know, it was very much a Friday the 13th movie with him killing all the teenagers. So I really like Jaws 2. Jaws 3D I still fucking hate. That, to me, is the worst sequel, only because of the effects. The effects are garbage. The premise is great, but the effects are garbage. But there's times I can kind of enjoy it. Like, the dialogue with the human characters, it's like, you know, it's like, the baby was in the park. The mother is inside the park. Is the old shark's mother? And Dennis Quaid with his fucking wet pits and everything. And, oh man, you know, just that's such a shit movie. Like, it would have been so much more fun if the effects weren't half-assed. And that's the part that really bugs me about Jaws 3D. I heard there are 3D versions on Blu-ray that are technically good, so maybe at some point I will take a look at it in 3D as it was originally intended, but it's just for now, it is the worst film. Now, Jaws the Revenge, despite it being boring as hell, I kind of like, and, you know, it's so batshit insane, but I love it. I love Jaws the Revenge. Like, it's, to me, that's like Batman and Robin. It's so bad, it's good. Oh, God, the shark's trying to get in the car. Yeah, car shark. Okay, I'm so done with the shark genre. I'm so done. Look, you have a couple of good shark movies, but all the Sharknadoes and all the fucking, oh my God. Like, every one of those shark movies that are made just makes the tumor in my head grow bigger. But I fucking hate those fucking knockoffs and shit. Deep Blue Sea is the only recent decent one. Then Great White. I do like Great White. And Orca. You know, aside from that, the rest can suck a whale dick. I'm not a fan of the ripoffs, but yeah, Jaws for me. I've said it multiple times. It's like just to see it on the big screen was spectacular. One of the best movie experiences. I just have so much fun with it. Now, surprisingly enough, Cineplex is still doing movie theater re-releases of other movies. So they're showing Jurassic Park, they're showing Back to the Future, they're showing Gremlins, they're showing Goonies. Surprisingly, I've never seen Goonies, so maybe I can check that out, but let me know if you guys want me to see that. But you know what, actually, Cineplex, if you're listening to this, movie theater chains, Universal especially, can you please put King Kong back on the big screen? Like, either the original, the 70s remake, I know those are tricky to get the rights to, but if you can put those two, or fucking 2005, the Peter Jackson film, I'll be okay with that. And make it the extended cut. I would love to see the 2005 film again on the big screen. You know, Universal, there is improvement for that. So, if you guys want me to talk about these classics again, let me know in the comments, and I'll talk about other ones. You know, I'll talk about ones if you guys are interested. I love talking about some of my favorite films, or just some of my classic films in general, because, you know, as movie theaters start to open up, I want to do more of these opening nights from new movies. Maybe I'll do SpongeBob, because that would be funny to do with all the guys, because we share our SpongeBob memes. But yeah, of course, Jaws. It's one of my favorite movies. It's top 5 favorite. I can't even give it a 10 out of 10. It's in my top 5 favorite films. 10 out of 10 if anything. It's that good, guys. If you get a chance, if it's at your local drive-in, go fucking see it. It's worth seeing. If you haven't seen Jaws, what is wrong with you? But of course, I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on Jaws? Let me know in the comment section below. And of course, if you guys want to support us on Patreon, just $1 or more will get you early access to all of our content, as well as other special features. And I want to give a very big shout out to Looney Chi Bunny. Lately she's been, starting up on YouTube and everything, and we want to help her out however I can, and with 11,000 subscribers, I'm sure 1,000 of you could spare your time and go subscribe to her. She could really use the support, and I'd really appreciate it. But guys, just do that. Go see Jaws. What the fuck ever. I love this movie. Yeah, it's just, I want to finish up the can because I know what I'm going to do here. But yeah, it's just, go see Jaws. Go subscribe to Looney Chi Bunny. Go support our Patreon. And tune in tomorrow when you get to see another fan trailer I made. It's one that was requested after the previous one, and I hope you guys enjoyed. So, until the next video, guys, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. This is BigJackFilms signing off saying, Jesus Christ, Chief.